Beyond the taglines, the quippy headlines, the hooks, the clever copy, your brand message goes a whole lot deeper. In this episode, I'm going to share with you how to really dig in and find clarity on yours. Welcome to Small Business Casual, where business is personality packed, cozy, and your pets are part of the team photo. I'm Emily Aborn, small business copywriter, and I'm here to help you turn down the noise, clarify your message, and run a business that actually fits your life. I've had many a client come to me saying one of two things. First, they might say something like, "Oh, no, I don't need a new tagline." But they say that to me when they're in the process of overhauling their whole brand messaging. And the second thing I often hear is, "Oh, I just need a catchy tagline or headline. Can you help?" When really what they need is clarity on their entire brand foundation and a major messaging a renovation and remodel from the inside out. I have learned the hard way myself that clever copy alone, wit, that heaping, serving of my shining personality, they are not the only things that are making that deep connection. They don't make a deep connection on their own. Your message and copy, they're a blend of art and science, okay? They need a heartbeat, they need a soul, they need a depth, and they also need a purpose and a strategy that help to elevate these things to go beyond being just words. So today, I'm going to take you a little bit into the behind the scenes of my world and talk about how I help clients with brand messaging, but I'm going to allow you the questions so you can start to dig into some of this for yourself too and get some clarity on your own. As a website copywriter, I help people with brand messaging in two very distinct ways. First, I will often be the one actually creating this essence of a brand message when we are building a website from the ground up. Now, they may not get all the components of my brand messaging guide, but they're getting brand messaging that goes a lot deeper. And that is for anybody that works with me on their website copy. And I want to say even beyond, you get a baseline of your brand messaging essence. The second way is a lot of people simply do not know how to implement what we did on their website copy or implement their brand message into other aspects of their brand. So they are like, well, I kind of have an idea of what we stand for and who we are, but I don't know how to translate it consistently into my newsletter, my social media, my taglines, et cetera. So for those folks or for people who want it to come hand in hand with their website copy, which I always recommend if you can, I offer brand messaging guides. So those are like great add-ons. You do them either before the website copy is done or during, because it can really help to set the stage, not just for website copy, but literally every single word that comes from your mouth and every single word that comes out of your business in written form. From there, it's a really good foundation, rock solid as they're going through that kind of like rebranding process. So I think it is super beneficial. I get really amazing feedback on them. And I thought I would take this opportunity to kind of dive into some of the elements of brand messaging guides with you so you can start thinking about it for yourself. What do you really mean to say when you are saying what you're saying? How can you help say it more clearly and more connected to the people you most want to be helping? Like, how can you speak their language more? So that's where we're headed. I know it is so much fun. We're going to nerd out together because this is my love language right here is brand messaging. And what I really want this to be like is like a live project YOU workshop. So like we're going to workshop you right now and your brand and your messaging. Let's dive in. Let's go. First up, I think it would be important to just talk about this, what I'm going to call the tagline trap. As I said, people often come to me either disregarding taglines entirely. They're like, oh, no, I don't need that. or they focus entirely on that, thinking that that is all they need. And I'm saying taglines, but I also mean perfect hooks or elevator pitches. I just need a one-liner. One woman said to me recently, I'm like, okay. So I explained to her the concept of brand messaging. And when I did, she was like, oh no, actually, I see what you're saying. That is what I need. She decided to go for it. I am so happy she did, because this woman, oh my God, she did not need a one-liner. She didn't just need an elevator pitch. She needed to share this amazing, beautiful depth of the transformation that she was providing her clients with. And she needed to know how to say it clearly, because she had something inside of her. There was a world inside of her. I said to her, my dear, well, I didn't say my dear, but I was like, there is so much inside of you. There is a life inside of you. And we need to share that with other people so that it can change their world too. So I will say, between you and I, she was a hands down my top project of 2025. She let me guide her, bring her personality to life, bring life to her messaging. And it was seriously the most fun I have ever had on anyone's website copy, on anyone's brand messaging. It was amazing. And she, as a result, was abundantly happy. I think she's one of my most recent Google reviews. I'll include a link to those, and you can read her kind words. We just had a lot of fun. But it really went to show how a brand message can transform you, the creator or the business owner, as well as help you to connect with the people that you're working with. So why is everyone so obsessed with this one magical, hopefully viral sentence, this tagline, this one-liner that they think that they need to come up with? Like, who told you need to come up with this? I think partly it is the Instagram effect, and also AI, which is a big fan of those one-liners, let me just tell you. And also people have had everything kind of condensed to like fractions of an attention span, and everything is clickbait and attention grabbing and quippy. Like, I think the word is that is being tossed around a lot is slop content, and I think a lot of things fall into that category. And I'll say this, even if it is the best tagline in the world, even if it is the best little jingle, without having dug deeper and done the fundamentals to really pull that brand messaging out loud and proud, I gotta say those taglines are akin to a one-hit wonder, and it leaves business owners and potential clients really disconnected from the brand. Because in my opinion, in my personal and professional opinion, it is not just words. It is not just words. Yes, maybe the words is how we translate it out, but what you are really trying to say, I do believe, has to start by going deep inside. So that's my spin on why the tagline trap isn't the answer. But let's talk about what actually is. Let's get into brand messaging, what it can look like, and some common definitions. So first, here's how others define it. If you look up the phrase, what is brand messaging? You'll find a whole bunch of answers, but basically people say anything from, it's the words and phrases that communicate your value proposition to your target audience. Boring. It's the words and phrases reflective of your brand's personality. Okay, I like that. How your brand speaks, writes, and communicates. Okay, fine. Those things are all fine and good. But I think it's a little bit bigger. I think that your brand message is the story. I think it is the entire story. I think it is who you are, why you are who you are, why you like working with the people you like working with, what you stand for, where you're going, the transformation you create, for whom, why them. Like I said, I think it is communicating with consistency in a certain personality, tone, cadence, with values and perspectives that are unique to your brand and what it stands for. It is basically your blueprint. It shapes how you are seen, how you show up, how you feel about your business, how you build trust, what makes you different. It is Huge. And of course, it's always evolving. That's how it's supposed to work, but it is always going to be reflective of the entire ecosystem of your business or your brand. A lot of people skip over all that big important stuff and they just focus on the what I do and for who. And that's fine, but there are some really core components, which most of them do involve admittedly language and actually written words that then you can translate and communicate across platforms. But at the heart of it, it is not surface level fluff. It is the real soul of your business. So if I dive into some of those core components, things that I would include, for example, in somebody's brand messaging guide, some things you can start thinking about as it relates to yours. The first one that pops to my mind, like number one, first one is mission, vision, and values. Now, I know these are overplayed. Honestly, if I had $1 for every single time I heard one of those annoying buzzwords, I don't know, I'd live in a castle probably. I understand that they're annoying words. I don't really like them either, so let's reframe them. Hear me out. There are far more fun and creative ways to define your mission, to pull out your vision and values than just the classic mission, vision, values statement. And, there's a lot of other fun ways you can do this in your brand messaging. So when I first started digging into these more deeply for myself, because I'd always put them aside because they were boring, to be honest with you. But I started digging into them for myself in a workshop with Justin Blackman. I take a lot of courses from him. He's a great writer. And he laid out some really good questions that I thought were really helpful for me to get to the root of, okay, what is my vision? What is my mission? What are my values? Some of the questions I liked were very basic, like, what do I do? Okay. But then he actually made you answer questions twice. So sometimes he would say, like, write down what you do. And then he'd be like, now what do you do? And then you're like, I just answered that. He's like, go deeper. And then he would ask something like, okay, who do you do it for? Why do you do it for those people? What is your promise to these people? What are you saving them from? What will you never choose? Like, what will you say, no, I'm never choosing that? What will you not stand for? What is your way and why is it better? And what do you really want to say? Come on, ask yourself again, what do you really want to say? What do you want to be known for helping people with? What is that transformation you really want to provide them with? Now, I'm going to include extended show notes for today's episode, so you'll get all of these questions to reflect on and list out for yourself if you care to do so. And I would encourage you to do so. I would challenge you to do so, because when you look at these things and you take time, I'll include like a guide on how to do it, because I think he gave us about 60 seconds for each one, and it put the pedal to the metal, and then he would ask the question again and put the pedal to the metal again. And it's kind of like no editing, just raw dumping, and then you can refine it later. But when you look at them like that, you get statements that describe your business. Like, it was something I came up with, and this is not edited, but it was something like, do you want to know the truth, the real truth? My way might not actually be better for you. It might not be better. It is not better for everyone. It's not the best even. But when we are a good fit, and I'm talking like peanut butter and jelly kind of good fit, my way is going to help bring out the best version of you and translate it into words that connect deeply with your best clients. I care deeply. I listen carefully. I pour my heart and soul into each and every project I take on. And then I go on and just talk about like how, I really do get them. I get what it means to be, and also to kind of be trying to define yourself, right? You're like be and becoming at the same time. And so I kind of help them see that my way is both strategic and organized as all get out, thorough, and I'm going to make you sound like this amazing person who you are running your business. I will show you as the peaceful partner, the trusted Tootsie Pop, the dangerous diva, that godlike figure that you are over there. I'm going to pull that out. And obviously, like I said, this is not edited. This was just kind of things I slopped onto a page. Slapped, not slopped. But it was a lot more fun than my top 3 values are family, well, I'll say 4, family, creativity, connection, and growth, which is true, but it's just not, it's like, yeah. We've all got those values. So also my mission statement before, it was like blah, blah, blah. So this is all about going a little deeper and also opening yourself up to having some more fun when it comes to your mission, your vision, your values. What ticks you off? Here's a good way to get into it. What ticks you off to no end in your industry that you are helping to spare people from? Why does that make you the best choice? This powerful reframe helps you bring out not just the what you do and how and who it's for, but really why you do what you do. And I mean really why you do what you do, because there's a lot more to it than just like my why. So it's good stuff to get into. The other component that is very, very important, so first one was mission, vision, values. The other component that's very, very important is your brand messaging, is your actual brand voice. We're going to get into that a little bit more next week, just personality as a whole and how to add more of it into your copy. Actually, I think that's the week after. Don't quote me on that. But your brand voice is basically, it's elusive sometimes. It's like, well, how do I really sound? It's how you say what you say. And that often boils down to your tone, the 3 things. One, your tone, the mood, and the feeling that you evoke with what you say. So right now, you can hear that my tone is a little bit serious, but also fun. I want to make sure you understand the breadth and importance of this, but I also want you to have a whole lot of fun. So you can hopefully feel that in my tone, in the mood that I'm setting for this episode. And then part 2 of your brand voice, and that tone does change depending on the different mediums that you share, okay? Number 2, this doesn't change so much, and this is your personality, special phrasing, vocabulary. People recognize you by the words you say. People know I always say like wee or chutzpah or, gah when I'm like expressing like, oh my God. I'll say like GAAAAAHHHHHH. So your personality, special phrasing, or vocabulary, and that doesn't always just mean like how do you spell all the words wrong in the English language? Because that's part of my vocabulary sometimes is spelling words like dunno, wanna, that kind of thing, gotta. But it also has to do with your overall personality. And that is a very human thing. That is, your brand's personality has very human traits, probably much like yourself. Even the pacing. So part 3 to your brand voice is something a lot of people overlook, and that is the pacing. That's the pacing which you bring people through various aspects of your content. Some people call it the cadence or the rhythm. On my podcast, I have a very fast pace. The cadence and the rhythm is very, very, very quick. I would say on social media and on email, it's a little bit slower. And that is because I know that people usually can listen faster than they can read. Your brand voice is how you say what you say. And it is not something to just leave up to chance, because if you do that, what you'll find often is you may shapeshift depending on what other people's content you're consuming. Or if you're copying pasting from AI, you're going to be completely shapeshifting all the time. You may jump around without rhyme or reason because you are not anchored in a consistent brand voice. The brand voice is very important. And when you define it and you lean into it and you just like own it, you embrace it like I do, as annoying as it may be to some, you become unmistakably you. You turn on the people who are your people and you turn off the rest. You are recognizable. You are memorable. You are unforgettable. And your content starts giving people a true experience rather than just being words. It gives people a true connection to who you are, who your brand is, rather than being just words. So some questions I would encourage you to dig into. And again, these are going to be in extended show notes. How do you want people to feel when they interact with you and your business or your brand? What is the mood or the tone? Is it poignant and laden with emotion and weight? Or is it full of levity, laughter, lightness, silliness? Is it sassy? Is it sweet? Is it solemn, quirky, buttoned up, professional, polished, luxurious, poetic, inspiring, straight talking, sophisticated. Think of your brand voice as a human's personality traits. Number 2, I want you to consider your pacing. Are you fast and efficient? Are you slow and methodical in your pacing? Are your sentences long and winding and like a babbling brook? Or are they short, staccato, to the point, to really ensure that that mic drop moment gets its moment? Or are you a blend of both? What special words and phrases do you use? I recently saw somebody use the wording y'all on her Instagram, and I was like, oh my God, I love that. And that is so her and so funny because that is something I would never say. Like if I started my episode saying, hey y'all, it would not be received as an Emilyism. But I do say like hi or hey there or hello, or usually I'll say hello with like 60 O's after it. But your vocabulary communicates a lot more than just the actual word choices. Another thing to keep in mind is your vocabulary should be accessible to your ideal clients and again, distinct to you and your clientele. I have a lot of clients. I work with a lot of interior designers, and it's funny, they all have preferences when it comes to their vocabulary. Some do not say sophisticated. Some don't say luxury. Some say custom. Some say bespoke. Some say comfortable. Some say cozy. Some people don't like couch. Some people don't like sofa. Some say curtains. Others insist on drapes. There are going to be turn on and turn off words for all of us, both as professionals and also for our ideal clients, for our ideal people. So I think that writing out what you say and what you don't say can be extremely clarifying. For example, lots of people point this out and know that I rarely use curse words. I don't have any problem with them. It is just not the vocabulary I use regularly in my business and in my online messaging, or really in person very much at all. But I think that for some people that is a huge part of their vocabulary, and it's fun and it's funny or it's impactful, right? So there's all kinds of different reasons we choose the vocabulary that we choose. And I will say this. Some of it is also geographical and where or like how you were born. So, or how you were grown up. Sorry. My gosh. Or like political or religious, or there's so many different things that go into that vocabulary piece of your brand voice. And I will say, with brand voice, well, with all of this, it is not always easy to bring it out, to see it and bring it out on your own. It's not always easy to know, how do I sound? How do I talk? How do I write? So you sometimes need a mirror, someone to help pull it out of you, someone to reflect it back to you, to see it in you in the first place, to find those common threads, those elements that come together to make the whole. And that is one of the reasons why I help people do this, because it is super hard and frustrating to do it alone. So if you're listening and you're like, okay, I can't do this for myself, but I definitely want to talk to Emily, I'll put a couple of options in the show notes so that we can connect and you can chit chat with me. I do everything from done with you to done for you in this regard. So whether you want to workshop it together or you want me to do it, I can help you with that. But anyway, let's keep moving. We got 2 more elements. We have next your messaging pillars. Now, I'm not going to put you in a box here, okay? But I want you to try to think of the top 3 to 5 things you talk about on repeat or that you could talk about in your sleep, for example. I'm going to go ahead and let you have those 5 because I could never choose just 3, and I don't know. I mean, maybe you can, but more power to you, but I'm going to let you choose 5. So for example, for me, brand messaging is actually one of my pillars. This is the way I speak to why words matter, how they're not just words, how your words in your business are super duper important. They leave a mark and an imprint, how your words can shape another person's world. That is what I call a brand pillar right there. That is a pillar. Podcasting is another pillar. I love it. I want to be better at it. I want others to be better at it. Hosts, guests, community members. I have lots of experience around it, and I love helping new and rebranding podcasters get clear on their content and their words. And so podcasting is my brand pillar number 2. And then brand pillar number 3 for me is collaboration. There's a ton in there. Consistency and sustainable business ownership. Like, how can we strategically build a sustainable business that is thriving, but it's also easy, or I should say easier. So those are my 5. And I would love to challenge you to think of your 5. What are your 5 brand pillars? These then, they're not boxes like we talked about in last week's niching episode. They are filters. They are your go-tos. And now you never need to worry about what on earth you share because you always have those 5 things you can go back to and always be sharing about. And underneath every single one of those 5 things is an entire world of fresh ideas. I mean, I could come up with I have a document with hundreds of topics for each one. So again, if that's something you're like, well, I have my 5, but I don't know what to pull from there. If you want help unburying some of those things, some of those out of the box ideas, I have tons for you. I would love to talk about them. I would love to share with you some maybe systems that are unique to you so you can repurpose content. You can really structure it all in a way that works for you. I love helping people with that, like coming up with a plan that you can actually implement and do on a regular basis. So I will include, again, a link to that in the show notes and we can chit chat if that's your thing. Lastly, we'll get into positioning. I don't really like this word. I will admit it's found a lot in the business and podcasting world, business and entrepreneurial world. Copywriters use it all the time. What's your brand positioning statement? I find it a little bit off-putting. I prefer just asking in plain language, what is the promise that you are giving to your people? What is your unique way versus everybody else's? What sets you apart? And I don't mean just I do things with attention to detail. I mean, really what sets you apart. You can often find these things. You can actually find your brand positioning statement in your Google reviews, in your podcasting reviews. You can start to pull out those common threads in your testimonials, and they will show you, they will highlight your distinct position, your place in the sea of others in your industry. So, for example, I get people saying 3 things. 1, they say I care and listen like no other service provider they've ever worked with. And it is true. I did not get shoes like this as the cobbler's son by sleeping on the job for my clients. When I'm working on somebody else's business, I work on it better than as though it's my own. Hence the cobbler's son shoes. Number 2, people often say that I make the process fun and I bring in energy and laughter. You hear me being silly on this podcast all the time. I try to practice what I preach, and I am often bringing a at least upbeat spirit to my clients, okay? And then they say that my preparedness, strategy, streamlined, thorough, organized process. Emily pats herself on back here. Just kidding. I've been broken like this since I was a child. They say that process is really second to none. And it all helped make them be very trusting of me along the way and also to trust the process. So they never really had to question what came next or who was doing what, right? So those right there, that's the makings of my brand positioning statement. Your brand positioning, your promise, is all about what is the perception of working with you and how do you exceed that perception or deliver on those expectations. What your brand does best for the consumers who want what you have got, that is your brand, quote unquote, positioning statement. So do yourself a favor. Go get yourself a confidence boost, please, and look in some of your listener reviews, some of your Google reviews, maybe some of your LinkedIn recommendations. Find those magical themes. Find those themes that pop up again and again and again and again and jot those down, and you're going to start getting a lot of clarity on how your brand is set apart in the marketplace, your quote-unquote brand positioning. So let's say you started to really think through your brand messaging. You're seeing the value. You're like, yep, Emily, I'm with you. I see the value in going deeper in who I am and bringing that out. Love it. Check, check, check. Now you get to start using it. You get to start implementing it and using it on everywhere, every single place. Your website copy, your social media captions, your content, your emails, your podcasts, your sales calls, your client communication via email. Every single step of the way in the client experience, how you show up at networking events, how you show up in person, this all matches your overall brand messaging. And I will say, and additionally, your brand is guided by your messaging, but your message is also guided by your brand. So that is why I work very closely with brand designers and web designers. One of my fantastic brand designers, Jessica Mercier, she says, your brand should reflect who you are while evolving you into who you're becoming. And I just love that. Your brand should reflect who you are while evolving you into who you're becoming. I think the same is also true with your words, your messaging, how you communicate. It's all evolving you into your best and most highest potential self. And it also is reflecting who you deeply, deeply are. Speaking of Jess, like I said, beyond the words, brand messaging is also very visual. It is your colors, your fonts, your logos, your website design. And we often start actually with the copy and the messaging because it's hard to design what you can't articulate. But we work these things hand in hand, because if you can't come up with if you don't start with the brand messaging, the website it might be pretty, but it will likely be not clear and it will be more ineffective. All of the website designers I work with, Jenny B, Robin White, Teresa Schloop, Jenny Belanger, Robin White, Teresa Schloop, Jess Mercier, Elizabeth Nelson, Lindsay Burkhart, Alethea Copelis, those are my major ones that I work with on a regular basis. We all start with messaging. And then we bring in fonts and logos and colors kind of in tandem to the copy. Once the original foundation is built, we bring that stuff in. Then we move into website design. And when you have all of those things, that is a super, super solid foundation. And then you can move into some of those other smaller parts. Like then we can get into the taglines, right? And the LinkedIn profiles and the social posts and the social banners and all the clickbaity fun stuff. But it is such a huge, big picture, and it's really important that the whole thing comes together with cohesion before you go deeper into the weeds. And I hope I didn't get too deep into the weeds in this episode. That was definitely not the goal. I wanted to give you some things to think about regarding your message, not your tagline, not your elevator pitch, the deepest of deep, from the inside out, value-based brand message, so that you can share it loud and proud with the world. So in the show notes, as promised, you will find a link to the extended show notes. It will have these reflection questions for you to think about for your own brand and messaging. It will also have a link to those website designers I mentioned. Over the holidays, I made a special little page for these folks so that people can easily find them and connect with them. And then next week, we're going to satiate that tagline and sweet, sassy phrase tooth of yours, and mine too. And we're going to talk about headlines, subject lines, and how you're supposed to come up with those without the help of AI. So remember that. Until then, the tagline is the cherry on top. It is not to be confused with the foundation of your brand and who you deeply are. Thanks for joining me on this week's episode of Small Business Casual. If you're considering a rebrand, starting something new, or ready to upgrade your website copy to reflect the brand you've already built, I'd be delighted to help you find just the right words for your business. Reach out to me at emilyaborn.com, and I would love to hear from you.